The number is 508-924-5155. Board Member Saron Ruiz will please make the announcement in Spanish.
Servicios de interpretación en español de esta reunión de la Junta Escolar de Prince George's County está disponible al número 508-924-5155, 508-924-5155.
Thank you. Finally, for those who are not able to observe now, this meeting is being recorded and can be accessed for later viewing via the Prince George's County Public Schools YouTube channel. Now we will have our board prayer and pledge of allegiance led by Board Member Curtis Valentine.
Let us pray. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Steer us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Are they recording? I don't see it up here. Okay. Ms. Ellis, would you please call the roll?
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Adam Stafford. Here. Ms. Luther Strada.
Here.
Mr. Saron Luis.
Here.
Mrs. Lasalle Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mrs. Nickensbury.
Here.
Dr. Z. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Murray. Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Valentine.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Present.
Dr. Miller.
Present. Now we will go for, move for the adoption of the agenda for June 23rd, 2022 board meeting. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
It has been moved in second to adopt the agenda for June 23rd, 2022. Is there any discussion? I see a light, Board Member Adam Stafford.
Hi, thank you, colleagues. I'd like to move that we add an emergency agenda item to discuss the end-of-year academic achievement report with data we received on student progress thus far this school year. I think it's important for us to discuss these items with the public and talk about timelines for addressing some of these, the scores that we've received.
Second.
There's been a motion to add an item to the agenda, and I have a concern with that item being added, but I'm going to proceed with procedure, even though this was not being done procedurally, and I would like that to go on record. With that being said, may I have, are there any, wait a minute, it has been moved in second that we accept the motion made by Board Member Adam Stafford to add an emergency, what she interprets as an emergency item in reference to, I didn't write it down, but her motion.
Thank you. Her motion on adding the emergency item as it relates to the end of the year data. I would like for her to justify why she believes this is an emergency based on the Opens Meeting Act definition of an emergency.
Yeah, I think this is an emergency because I feel that our community needs to know where our students stand after a year of coming back after COVID, how students are performing academically. Part of our charge as this board is to hold the school system to high expectations academically and to ensure that all students are receiving a quality education. And so our job is to provide oversight and to have some checkpoints and say, okay, you know, how are students performing? How can they improve? And, you know, we very seldomly talk about student academic data in these meetings. And so I think that this is something that is of concern to the public as we forge into the summer and into the next school year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you feeling as though it is an important topic for us to discuss. 3 months ago, we had a discussion, a presentation from our Data Accountability Office, specifically on graduation rates. That was done at the May 10th meeting. As you are aware, today is the end of the school year of a year that we are learning to educate our students in COVID. The grades haven't even been put into school max for us to even collect the data and present the data. So let me go back to my original question, which was around the OMA's definition of an emergency. The OMA's definition of an emergency is something that is urgent that will stop the operation of the school system. Going over the data will not stop the operation of the school system. But as you know, in order to go over the data, administration has to have the data, have certified information that comes at different parts of the year. And so in order to do that, we need to give them an opportunity to collect the data, to receive certified data, to review the data, and then present the data. And as I just mentioned, every year we get regular presentations on academic success of our students. And when they present that, there is information that is provided on a plan to improve. And so to request this, I think that it's great that you want to request it and you feel as though it's important for us to talk about it today, but the information hasn't been received, nor has the administration had the opportunity to review and come up with a plan. So as we've been communicating today, we have asked Dr. Golson to present a timeline when certified data would be coming, when they receive grades, information on grades, and when they receive other information related to academic success, and then determine when they can present it. And so I do not agree with having it added to the board meeting as an emergency item because this does not stop the operation of the school system. Therefore, it is not meeting the requirements to be an emergency item. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Williams. Board Member Boozer Strother.
Thank you so much, Chair Miller. I just also would agree that this is not an emergency item and that the data is not complete, and it wouldn't be fair to our staff and families for an interpretation of this data without measurements and the time of comparative analysis and against the planning that the administration set forth with the mitigating interrupted instruction caused by the pandemic, and of course the Transformation 2026 Equity Strategic Plan. I also, want to say it is the last day of school, a day of celebration, a day of recognizing our students' achievement, a day of recognizing our employees' hard work, a day to focus on that we got through a very difficult year. And that data will be there and will come, and we will have it analyzed in a timely manner and presented to us as soon as we return for the next school year. Thank you.
Board Member Adam Stafford.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. And I just want to note for the record, there's, certain data that's not available now, like student grades. But we do have benchmark assessment data that demonstrates how students are performing on key areas like English and math. And I think that it's important for us to discuss these items as a board and to really hear what is the plan to improve student achievement. And so we can go ahead and call the roll, but I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to ask the question.
Board Member Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you. And again, I reiterate that the data is presented to us throughout the year along with the plan for improvement. Even the test data that we receive, we don't have the test data necessarily for this year because we just finished testing for students in high school. Because I have a high schooler, I know that they just finished testing like last month. So that data isn't, we haven't even gotten that data yet. So in order for us to really be able to have a thoughtful, fruitful, intelligent conversation on the data, let's make sure that we give the administration an opportunity to receive the certified responses from those that we send the data to, give them an opportunity to analyze that data in our accountability office, who has done an amazing job on not only reviewing and coming back with, after they analyze the data, but they have created an application that can sort of predict outcomes. And so let's give them an opportunity to do that. And again, I have to reiterate that throughout the year, we're presented with presentations such as kindergarten readiness information. We're presented presentations on graduation rates. We're presented information on our ELL outcomes. So throughout the year, we're given an opportunity to have presentations that have been analyzed thoroughly by our staff, and it is that opportunity for us to participate in those meetings. So again, I appreciate your feelings for wanting to discuss this important data at this moment in time, but this is not the appropriate moment in time to discuss it. When that agenda item comes up, let's discuss it then, and we can focus in and hone in on those specific data points at those specific presentation times. So thank you very much for putting this agenda item forward, but I will not be supporting it.
Board Member Valentine.
I just wanted to share some information, just particularly, and I appreciate the sentiments of my colleague, Chairwoman of the Academic Achievement Committee, Adam Stafford, for highlighting this. It is incredibly important, and for some families, it can be seen as an emergency, depending on where their students are performing and how they're doing. So I just want to make sure that I don't lose sight of that in the sentiment in which you bring. At the same time, there's been conversation with the administration about how to make sure that the time we do spend is thoughtful, and we could have the conversation, and it's not sort of a series of questions that we propose to the administration based on information that may not be fully encapsulated. But I just wanted to share for those who are listening in and would be interested in this conversation and want to hear more about how we're moving our system forward based on a full set of data. The administration has committed to September 8th as the date in which we will have that conversation. So if this vote does not pass, and you are committed to having this conversation with us in public, as my colleague has mentioned, a date has been set, September 8th, to have a much-needed conversation and an opportunity to analyze where our system is and where we need to be and what we as a board should do to get there. And so I just want to reiterate that September 8th is the date the administration has committed to have that discussion with us in a public setting. Thank you.
Board Member Mickens Murray.
Thank you. Thank you, colleague Valentine, because what I was going to say is I read in an email where the CEO was going to provide this information in September. So I will not be supporting it as an emergency item tonight. Thank you.
Board Member Boozer Strother.
Thank you, Chair Miller. I just, in hearing colleague Valentine talk about families where individually their child's data feels like an emergency, I would just like to extend that our board, represents our families and certainly can hear from individuals and help and make sure there's system guidance for our summer learning programs and other opportunities for individual data as separate from the system-wide data that requires a lot of time and may not apply specifically to your own family. So I just wanted to note for families who are struggling with how their child may have ended the school year, there are many resources and individuals that you can contact for that help. Thank you.
Board Member LaSalle Frazier had her light on. I know she had to step out, so I will give her an opportunity before we take the vote, if she's not going to be too long. Board Member Zipporah Miller.
I also wanted to.
Turn your mic on.
Can you hear me?
Is your mic on? Blue light.
It's not blue. Is it on now?
Yeah.
I also wanted to concur with the sentiments around looking at academic data and really digging deep in the data. However, because there is a date set for September 8th, I would like our constituents to at least be aware that we will be digging deep in the data, give the administration some time to really look at and provide us with a holistic view of the data so that we can really talk about it. So to look for the September 8th date.
Board Member LaSalle Frazier, you had your light on before you left. Did you still have a comment?
Yes, my apologies for that. I wanted to just share my sentiment in terms of the data is very important. I think we need to spend enough time on it. I like the fact that we have a time that is set for September 8th to do that. It is important for our families. I'm very interested in disaggregating this data, really diving in deeply, but I don't think we have enough data yet to do that, so I will not be agreeing with the motion presented.
Is there a call for the vote? Call for the question. All in favor of adding the end of the year data as an emergency item to our agenda? All in favor? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Adam Stafford,
Aye.
Ms. Boozer Strother,
No.
Mr. Saron Ruiz,
Can you come back to me?
Mrs. LaSalle Frazier,
No.
Mr. Harris,
Abstain.
Mrs. Mickens Murray,
No.
Dr. Z. Miller,
No.
Mr. Murray is absent, Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. Valentine,
No.
Mrs. Williams,
No.
Dr. Miller.
No.
Go back to the.
Back to
the
Abstain.
Board Member Saron Ruiz.
Mr.
Abstain.
Saron Ruiz, I'm sorry,
I'll abstain.
thank you.
Motion fails.
Original motion.
Now back to the adoption of today's agenda, board meeting agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Requesting
Requesting to remove item 4.7.
Oh, one. I have that. Any abstentions? Are you raising your
Madam
hand?
Chair,
No, I was requesting to remove item 4.7 from the agenda for tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, let me finish taking this.
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend my motion to accept the agenda by removing item 4.7, healthcare, from the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. And that's item 4.7. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Now to item 2.6, approval of board meeting minutes for June 9th, 2022, during our work session. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved?
Second.
It has been moved in second to approve the board meeting minutes for June 9th, 2022. All in favor? Opposed? I didn't ask if there was any discussion, but I assume not. Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Now we will have our news break.
So I am pleased to announce that this year's 2022 Teacher of the Year is Ms. Paula Carpio.
When CEO Monica Golson announced that math teacher Evelyn Policarpio was Prince George's County's newest Teacher of the Year, everyone in the library at Benjamin Tasker Middle School burst into applause. And with good reason. Because for those who work with her and those she teaches, the Teacher of the Year title merely affirmed what they already knew. Mrs. Policarpio is a classroom magician.
She makes magic happen for them. I mean, you see the students and their sentiment. They love her. She's one of the teachers that you never have to worry about. You can always ensure that she is going to put her students first. They're going to be at the top of their game in everything they do, and it's so awesome. I'm so excited for her.
But if you had had the chance, would you have nominated her?
I would have definitely nominated her. She's my favorite teacher that I've probably ever had because she explains things in the most, it's a simple but descriptive way, and it helps me learn, and I think she opens lots of opportunities for us to do better.
Presented with plenty of gifts, including a new laptop and 2 checks worth $4,500, the new Teacher of the Year humbly downplayed her accomplishment and dedicated the award to those she loves most.
I did not do anything extraordinary. I did not expect this. I just did my job. My awesome students, I won't be able to make this without you.
Chosen from 3 finalists from an initial pool of 50 nominees, Mrs. Policarpio has been crafting her teaching skills for 35 years. After decades of teaching in her native country, the Philippines, Mrs. Policarpio was recruited to teach in New York City. But thanks to a chance meeting, she soon found herself leaving the Big Apple and heading south.
I was in the subway, and I saw a friend who was also a teacher in the Philippines, and asked me, why don't you move to Prince George's County Public Schools? Oh, what's in there? So
we can thank the New York City subway for getting you to Prince George's. I love that story.
Hired immediately when she got to Prince George's County, Mrs. Policarpio has been turning her students into math wizards for the past 14 years, challenging them in small groups and at the board with polygons, pyramids, and problems, while always assuring them that not knowing the answers is never a problem.
it's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but we must learn from that mistake. I motivate my students by building positive relationship with them and their families. In my classroom, they feel valued and recognized. Mistakes are expected, respected, and corrected.
But there is no mistaking the impression Mrs. Policarpio has made on all of us, including Monica Golson, herself a one-time math teacher who knows what a hard sell subject math can be.
She's a mathematics teacher, and when you can get students to love mathematics, even if they say that's not their favorite subject, it says a lot about her pedagogy and her love, not only for her students, but the love for the content as well. So we're excited to name her for Prince George's County, and I'm hoping that she'll win the state award as well.
Congratulations and all Godspeed to the Teacher of the Year, Evelyn Policarpio, the pride of the Prince George's County Public Schools. This is Dave Zarin reporting.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming an ordinary teacher doing extraordinary things in education, Ms. Evelyn Policarpio, the 2022 Prince George's County School Teacher of the Year. You're going to come out there to you.
We're going to join her in the well for a presentation of certificates and gifts. Award.
It is an honor to present you with these awards from the Board of Education. And it's in recognition of being selected as the 2022 Prince George's County Public Schools Teacher of the Year. Something you put on your desk. That one for the wall.
And this one says, in recognition of your consistent dedication and contributions to the students of Prince George's County Public Schools, including long-lasting excellent service as a mathematics teacher at Benjamin Casper Middle School. Congratulations.
Congratulations, and here's some tokens for you. All of us are looking for something nice. You got one with the mask off, too, for identification purposes. Use your playground voice. Use your playground and cafeteria voice.
Good evening, everyone.
There you go.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Well, with me is Reverend Leonard Policarpio. He is my husband, my tutor, and my bodyguard. I never imagined after the announcement of Dr. Wilson that I would be an instant superstar. I need a bodyguard. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, after so many years of teaching, I figured out the magic, and that is teaching with the heart. The heart that treats the students with kindness and gentleness, compassion and understanding. I build positive relationships not only with my students, but with their families, with my colleagues, and everyone in the building. And put love in everything I do. Putting love and heart, nothing will go wrong. So I use one of the strategies that our CEO is advocating to all teachers, and that is small group instruction. So I use small group instruction to get closer to my students and create the bond that lasts forever. So let us continue working together for the success of every student in this county as we are #Team PGCBS. Thank you so much. Thank you and congratulations.
Did Judy come back? Well, they're gone. Okay. I was waiting for Ms. Mickens-Murray to come back. Now we will move to item 2.9, the report of the chair. Is Caleb Smith here tonight? Okay. Colleagues, I am excited. I had the opportunity to meet this student and have a conversation with him during the CTE reception. And tonight, he has graced us with his presence. I would like for you to meet Caleb Smith, a student at Charles Herbert Flowers High School. Caleb made his aviation dreams come true after passing his written exam with the Federal Aviation Administration, which has recognized him as the youngest private glider pilot in the United States. Kayla, come front. Board Member LaSalle Frazier, would you make a presentation?
Caleb, we're so proud to have you here today. I am honored. When I saw the news and saw that you were one of our students, I was like, yes! I am so happy to have you here. And let me read to you the certificate of recognition. This presented to Caleb Smith, Student of Excellence Award. The PGCPS Board of Education would like to recognize you for your demonstration of leadership, academic achievement, and excellence that stands above the rest. Your work and dedication to the Air Force ROTC program at Charles H. Flowers High School as the youngest private glider certified pilot has truly made us PGCPS proud. Thank you.
All right, so this award is to recognize your achievement of becoming the youngest private glider pilot in the United States as a student attending Charles Herbert Flowers High School. Congratulations on behalf of the Prince George's County Public Schools Board of Education.
Taylor, would you like to say something? And this is Caleb's dad.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chad Smith, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And it was a great journey to see my young man, my baby. Sorry about that, embarrassed you. My baby having his aviation career starting at such a young age. He's a pretty amazing young man. So proud.
Evening, everyone. I am very, very thankful to be invited here and just to be here tonight. I really wasn't expecting all this to happen in such a short time. But I was a really dedicated person in the things I love and the things I like to do. So grinding out aviation in my life was just a priority in that short amount of time, and it really does pay off with all my accolades and all the successful stuff that's been going on in my life. I don't really have too much to say, but all I'd like to say is thank you for, of course, my father, my friends, everyone who's been supporting me throughout this journey, and I'm just really thankful for everything.
Love you, brother. Love you, brother. Yes, that's Prince George's County Public Schools, proud. This is what we are about. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Board Member Adam Stafford, please introduce yourself and your recognition.
I don't think that anyone from the school is here to receive the award, so we'll have to push it to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. now proceed with the rest of my report. I would like to make an announcement and summary of an Open Meetings Act violation. On June 15, 2022, the Maryland Open Meetings Compliance Board issued an opinion finding that this Board of Education violated the Open Meetings Act by entering into a closed session to discuss a policy matter that exceeded the scope of the personnel matters exception contained in the Act. Pursuant to Section 3-211 of the Act, the fact that the Compliance Board found a violation must be announced in public, and the opinion must be summarized. The opinion concerned a closed session meeting of the Board of Education held on March 10, 2022, where the board discussed an organizational restructuring of the board office. The Compliance Board found that because that discussion went beyond a discussion of personnel matters and involved a discussion about broadly applicable personnel policies, the Compliance Board found a violation of the Act. I would also note that following the expressed concerns regarding the Open Meetings Act and out of an abundance of caution, this issue was discussed in open session at the board meeting held on April 28, 2022. The Compliance Board found, however, that a public body's later discussion of a matter in open session cannot cure the fact that the body discussed it previously in a closed session in violation of the Act. The Act also requires at least a majority of the members of the Board of Education must sign a copy of the opinion and return it to the Compliance Board. The opinion has been passed around by our legal counsel, Mr. Nussbaum, and he indicated all members attending today except one did not sign, and that a document will be returned to the Compliance Board. I'd like to also take the opportunity to recognize our student board member again today. He was sworn in for his second term. Board member Alvaro's Cerrone Ruiz, and he also will be vice chairing. Will be the vice chair of one of our standing committees. Policy is about policy, and we look forward to your work with that committee. You were working with them before, weren't you? Yeah. So he's been and you will hear from him later, so I won't take up too much time talking about him now. Okay, so now we'll move forward with a moment of silence. Colleagues, at this time, I ask that all of you join me in honoring the memory of the following PGCPS staff, family, and community members with a moment of silence. James Wallace Mahoney, grandfather of Beatrice Easton, Administrative Assistant, ESSA, and Title I Office. Anthony L. Williams, custodian, Building Services, Fairmont Heights High School. Reginald M. Smith, custodian, Robert Gray Elementary School. Mark Williams, Food Services Assistant, Gaywood Elementary School. Robert D. Adams, bus driver, Friendly Bus Lot. Karen Zavallos, teacher, University Park Elementary School. Monica Harold, teacher, Montpelier Elementary School. Please continue to keep these families in your thoughts and prayers. Next, I will move forward to our upcoming meetings of the board. Please check our webpage for information about upcoming board meetings. I also like for you to make sure you check our webpage, and I'd just like to compliment those parents who came out to celebrate Juneteenth. And these were our parents and students, And it was just remarkable to see so many fathers with their families participating in that activity. And there were some pictures taken, and they will appear on the website of the Board of Education. So I'd like to publicly thank those parents, and you know I left the names somewhere else. But one particular parent will be the PTO president at Potomac Landing, and the festivity took place at Potomac Landing. So just wanted to make a note of that. Next, tonight is the last board meeting for the school year. Congratulations to our students who have done a fantastic job throughout this unprecedented year of unexpected this pandemic. The teachers, the administrators, everybody really pulled together for us to have a successful year. And as I have commented previously, we were still getting awards for our programs, our services, and we even got 2 teachers of the year. One that's outgoing, and then that we celebrated at our last meeting, and then our current teacher of the year. And I'm telling you, all of the teachers who stuck through this pandemic are teachers of the year because they have done a fantastic job. And to the students who progressed during this pandemic, I congratulate you as well. That wasn't in script, so I want everyone to please enjoy your summer and be safe. And I extend this to all the staff, teachers, students, and including the parents. Even though you'll have to deal with them for the next 2 months, I still thank you because you have been an integral part of our successful school year. And continue to check out our webpage for information about upcoming board meetings. Next, we will go to item 2.10, which is a discussion of our board retreat, which was held this past weekend, June 17th through the 18th. And board member Judy Mickens-Murray was the lead of that retreat, which was held. And we had to give her an applause because it was really well organized, coordinated, and I'll just let her and the student board member discuss that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'll give you a summary of the retreat that was held Friday, June 17th, and Saturday, June 18th at Turf Valley Resort in Ellicott City, Maryland. 2 representatives from Franklin Covey Education facilitated the retreat, Mr. Darren G. Kenley and Mr. Dr. Martin Schaefer. Participants, Board of Education members that attended the retreat were Dr. Juanita Miller, Chair, Sonia Williams, Vice Chair, Judy Mickens-Murray, Retreat Lead, Dr. Zipporah Miller, Madeline LaCelia Frazier, Curtis Valentine, Alvaro Cerrone Ruiz, our student board member. The executive leadership team that attended was Dr. Monica Golson, CEO, Howard Burnett, Senior Advisor, Michael Dickerson, Chief of Staff, Dr. Judy J. White, Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Douglas A. Strader, Chief Financial Officer, Michael Hertzman, Chief Financial Officer, Dr. Christy Murphy Baldwin, Chief of Human Services, Dr. Andrew Zuckerman, Chief Information and Technology, Dr. Helen Coley, Chief of School Support and School Leadership, Dr. Cara L. Miley Libby, Strategic Initiatives Officer, and Raven Hill, Associate Superintendent, Communications and Community Engagement. The board staff was Anise Ellis, Board Assistant, and Muriel Barton, Board Liaison. The retreat was hybrid because some of the executive leadership team were quarantined due to exposure to COVID, attending end-of-the-year programs. Note, a special thank you to Turf Valley for accommodating our last-minute equipment requests. The focus of the retreat was building capacity for leadership at the district and community levels as we work to improve academic achievement through the development of students, educators, and families. Some session outcomes. One, will inspire trust. We will work together to create culture of high trust through collaboration and empowerment versus command and control. Two, agree to evaluate and create focus areas for the board and CEO to model 4 cores of credibility: intent and impact, character and confidence, which equals integrity. Clarified roles between the board and the CEO to increase the effectiveness of board and CEO relationship. Discussed a clear distinction between roles of the board and the CEO and her executive leadership team. Clarified the board's support for the CEO's leadership to oversee educational plans. We agreed to work to increase the tenure for CEO and trust between the board, CEO, and executive leadership team. 4, we agreed to work to establish a shared vision around student success as collaborative problem solvers. Imagine what a school student could achieve versus personal agendas. We agreed to work also to make students centric and see students as constituents of the board. Agreed to look at affinity bias and the equity lens to discover the new agenda by redefining student success. On Saturday, it was the board only, 8 attendees. 1, we discussed creating evaluations and accountability plan for the board executing strategies using 4DX and MRI analysis. How a board accountability plan differs from a school district's strategic plan. We discussed how to have a future CEO evaluation tied to a board accountability plan once we we board plan. We also agreed to take advantage of the board, we also talked about the advantage of having the board evaluation tied to board role clarity, board speaking with one voice and with board support of the CEO. Finally, we agreed to that community engagement liaisons are board members. We reached agreement to expand community confidence in Prince George's County Public Schools District through collective problem solving, student advocacy, and student voice. Schools cannot do it alone. Our next steps, we will continue to work with Franklin Cover Education to build a community engagement leadership team. Our assignment is to complete a SWOT analysis, and that date is to be determined. We will also schedule a retreat in the fall to include new board members as of December 2022. I personally appreciated Dr. Golson and her team agreeing to attend the retreat and participating in extremely helpful, open discussions with my board colleagues. I hope the public sees Prince George's County Board of Education is taking our professional development seriously on how to become better stewards as a governing body, working with the CEO on behalf of our public schools. Thank you very much. And now, I need to toss it to the students.
Excuse me, Board Member
I'm
McIntyre.
sorry, okay.
Before you turn it over to him, I know it was we'll charge it to
Okay.
your head and not to your heart, but you did not acknowledge Board
Oh,
Member.
I'm sorry, I left my niece and,
No, Board Member Boozer Struther, you didn't mention her name being in attendance.
okay, it's on my list. I just overlooked you.
I said,
I'm
I
so
just
sorry.
said, that's
I
okay,
apologize
but for
because
the record,
it was
we are
your
being
moment.
recorded.
It was
Yeah.
your moment, colleague Boozer Struthers, that really helped us to have a meaningful engagement around our internal issues. So I appreciate you. I did not mean to overlook you, and I do apologize.
And one other item, we went into executive session to discuss the board's response to the state's performance audit, which was a draft and not for public information at that time, and that's why we went into executive session. So that should be a part of your report. as
Okay, I
well.
will add it, stand
Thank
corrected.
you.
And now we'll toss it
And
to the
now for the
student.
star.
Can I toss it to the student? Thank you.
All right, so my summary was essentially a summary much like Board Member Mickens Murray had made, but I'm pretty sure in terms of our agenda, it'd be redundant to just go through that. But I'll just speak on what I personally gained as a board member and as a student who attended the retreat. In this retreat, we had really good discussions in terms of the role that we serve as board members, the commitment we are bringing, and ways that we should be innovating not only our board but our school system for the better. The way that we are working with our superintendent and her ELT to ensure that this collaboration between two parties is an effective one that is producing great outcomes for our school system, one that will produce amazing headlines when you look up PGCPS on Google or whatever it is you use to search things. It gave me a newfound hope and trust that the leaders who sit on the dais, the leaders who work with Dr. Golson, are committed to our students, are committed towards our staff, are committed towards finding new ways to work together to ensure that Prince George's County Public Schools is serving our students, is serving our staff, and is leaving a legacy and a mark that Prince George's County is the school system. And so I'm glad I attended the retreat, and I thank you, Board Member Mickens Murray, for putting it together, and to the two mediators who helped organize it, bring new perspectives, because often when you have a retreat and it's the same people and it's the same ideas bouncing around, you almost never gain as much. And so having their perspectives and their ideas really, especially with the community engagement piece and the accountability plan, I think it's really good, and I'm excited to see it implemented. So thank you everyone who attended. Thank you for those who played a part in putting it together, and that's my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Again, thank you, Ms. Mickens Murray
but before
and
we
Mr.
move
Board Member Saron Luis, and I thought you had
I
something to do.
do, I really do, and it's a surprise to, we had 3 able assistants to help pull this together, because I could not have done all of the logistics for this by myself. So I asked the chair, and I received permission to give certificates tonight. So if I could have Miss Anise Ellis and Miss Mia Barton, I call you Muriel, I'm sorry, Barton. And I also have a certificate for Amber Wilson, who I know is not here tonight, but Miss CEO, would you please accept it on her behalf? So if you ladies could come up. And I will read it. I can read it. Because I want to know how much I appreciate what they did. I'll read you, is all I'm saying. All right. Certificate of recognition for the ladies I named, and in recognition of your excellent dedication and contribution to the Prince George's County Public Schools Board of Education, including preparation and execution of services for the Board of Education retreat on June 17 through 18, 2022. We would like to express our deepest gratitude and utmost appreciation. Thank you guys so much. And you'll be Amber. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board Member Mickens Murray. Now we will move to item 2.11, report of the Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Golson, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you. Good evening. As we end the school year today, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our students, staff, and families. Last fall, students returned to the classroom for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic closed schools in 2020.
Board of Education members, I appreciate your support as I made tough and sometimes unpopular decisions to ensure the health and safety of students and staff. Staff worked tirelessly to prepare for students' return to school, providing quality instruction, school meals, and other student supports. Students made the extra effort to follow the safety guidelines, and families supported us during the transition and throughout the school year. Your efforts were greatly appreciated. As we close the school year, please take a moment to review our main webpage to read about our school system's accomplishments, awards, and recognition this year. Board members, you have a printed draft copy of our accomplishments, which we will also distribute to our elected officials, and an electronic copy version of this document will be forwarded to the Prince George's Public School community next week. We have a lot to be proud of, and we should celebrate our accomplishments, so thank you. Last week, the Excellence in Education Foundation for Prince George's County Public Schools hosted its annual Golf for Education tournament at Oak Creek Golf Club in Upper Marlboro. The event helps the foundation provide scholarships for graduating seniors. This year, we awarded $126,000 in scholarships to 35 deserving students. In addition, 39 students will receive $5,000 each from the MGM Prince George's County Local Development Council Program Scholarship. Those students that receive that award attend Crossland, Friendly, Oxon Hill, and Potomac High Schools. Please join me in congratulating our Foundation Relations Officer, Thea Wilson, the Board of Directors of our Excellence in Education Foundation, and MGM for making this happen. Also, congratulations are in order to our 2022 Krista McAuliffe Award winner, Dr. Terry Dove from Duval High School. Dr. Dove was presented with the award during a surprise visit to her classroom. The Krista McAuliffe Award honors an outstanding educator and is a tribute to McAuliffe, the teacher in space who lost her life aboard the Spaceship Shuttle Challenger in January 1986. McAuliffe taught in Prince George's County Public Schools from 1971 to 1978, and we continue to honor her legacy. Now the school is out, we are gearing up for our in-person, virtual, and hybrid summer programs for students in pre-kindergarten through grade 12. In addition, summer meals are available to youth up to age 18 with no family income requirements or advanced registration. Please visit our website for locations, dates, and times. Have a safe and restful summer break. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Golson. Board members and audience, I left out an announcement that should have been made under the board retreat or in my comments. That is the standing committee assignments. As of June 30th every year, we're supposed to select or choose which of the 3 standing committees we would like to participate in. Academic achievement, policy and governance, and budget and finance. With that, I will yield to Vice Chair Williams to make the announcement of those assignments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the 3 standing committees, the assignment for fiscal year 2022 through 2023 are as follows. Academic achievement will be chaired by Dr. Z. Miller. The vice chair will be Board Member Adam Stafford. The other members on the Academic Achievement Committee include Joshua Thomas, Curtis Valentine, Alvaro Saran Ruiz, and the ex officio board member is Dr. Juanita Miller. The Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee, known as OBAFA, will be chaired by Board Member Kenneth Harris, and the vice chair will be Board Member Madeline Lasalle Frazier. The other members on the OBAFA committee are Dr. Juanita Miller and Board Member David Murray. The final committee, Policy and Governance, will be chaired by Board Member Judy Mickens-Murray and vice chaired by our student board member Alvaro Saran Ruiz. The other committee members for Policy and Governance will be Pam Boozer-Struther and myself, Sonia Williams. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Williams. Now we will move to the public, 3.0, the public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. Today, we only have one registered live public comment speaker this evening. And I'd like to note to the public speaker, you have been registered to speak in a public forum where the Board of Education will listen to your comments. The board will not address your comments, and seeing who it is, you know all the rules, but I'll still read them.
That's okay.
You must speak on the topic for which you have been registered. All registered speakers will have 3 minutes to provide comments at the sound of the buzzer. Speakers may complete that sentence only. Registered speakers may not relinquish any part of their speaking time to another registered or unregistered individual. Speakers may not address individuals or issues with profanity or derogatory terms. You will be warned once. If you continue, you may be asked to leave, but this isn't a negotiation, so I don't expect that from you. Speakers are encouraged to use titles rather than names. For example, principal, chair of the board, CEO, vice chair. You got it.
I got it.
Your adherence to these guidelines will enable the public participation process to move smoothly. Our first and only registered speaker for the last meeting of the year is a very familiar face to this board and to the public school system. Doris Reed, the Executive Director, Association of Supervisory and Administrative School Personnel. A farewell message on her retirement.
Indeed. It's going to make a lot of people happy, but thank you, Dr. Miller. And good evening, everyone. I've been in this position for 31 years as the Executive Director for ASASP. I've represented some of the best and some of the craziest administrators and supervisors in the country. And I can say in the country because I'm also a representative for our national union. So I travel around the country and I get to see all of them. I want to say this evening, I am not speaking for the union. I want to make that clear. I don't want anyone calling their number when I finish saying what I have to say. But I'm going to be good, I promise. But again, I thank you for this opportunity to speak. And again, I have represented these people for all these years. I have to point out the principals, taking nothing from any other position in this school system. The principals are the most underrated people in the school system. That is a position I have always said they haven't printed enough money for me to do that position. It is the most thankless position ever. They're responsible for the students. They oversee the teachers and all the other staff. They have to deal with the parents. They have the administration. They have the community. They have the board. They have the politicians. They're responsible for things that don't have anything to do with the school. But because we're not loud, because we don't go on TV and raise all kinds of hell, people don't pay attention. And I want people to pay attention. I want them to understand the responsibility of the principals, that they're running a small city. That's the responsibility that these people have. And I'm so sick and tired of people complaining about these schools. We have some very good schools. We have some excellent employees at every level. And people need to acknowledge that. And I'm real tired of people complaining about, oh, there was a fight in the school, or this happened in the school. Those kids came to school with that behavior. They weren't taught to fight in the school. They weren't taught to act up in the school. They bought that from home. And I want the board and I want the elected officials to hold the parents accountable. If your child sets a fire in the school, then you should have to pay restitution for that. This has to stop. Things are not going to change if the culture doesn't change and the parents are not held accountable for their children. You can't save the world. Public schools, you can't save the world, and you do yourself a disservice by saying that you can. Not saying you want to be on Channel 5 News every night, you don't, but you need to let the public know what's going on. Thank you so much. I have more to say, but I know my time is limited. I just want to say it's been a ball working with you guys. I can say it has never been done, has never been dull. So I'll still be consulting with the union. I'm not going completely away. Okay? Didn't change my phone number. I only blocked some people I don't want calling me after I got. So, but thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Reed, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave, please.
Okay.
I have to go by my script first. We did have a registered public comment speaker, and it was from Tanisha Wooten, an individual on school security. This concludes the public comment. The testimony of the commenters registered and provided written or electronic testimony has been posted on board docs for review by board members and the public. That concludes the public comments. I'm taking a point of personal privilege. I think that's what it's called. Ms. Reed, I'd like to, on behalf of this board, can you get those for me? Excuse me. Put my mask back on. Because I did have, as an employee of Prince George's County Public Schools, had the opportunity to work with you as well. Yes, you were a member. Yes, I was a member. And had opportunity to witness the journey, the hard work, and the talent that you demonstrated throughout 31 years, even though I wasn't out of high school yet. Anyway, I'd like to present to you this certificate of recognition which is presented to Doris Reed, Executive Director, Association of Supervisory and Administrative School Personnel, in recognition of your consistent dedication and contributions to the staff of Prince George's County Public Schools, including long-lasting, excellent service as Executive Director of the Association of Supervisory and Administrative School Personnel. We applaud you for your 31 years of determined endeavors towards accountability, budgetary matters, and staff benefits, as witnessed when you met with our CEO and our negotiator. This year was Mr. Burnett and all the rest of that team. You've done an outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This award is in recognition of your many years of service as the Executive Director of the Association of Supervisory and Administrative School Personnel, ASASP, for the last 31 years. Congratulations for your
Thank you, board members and audience, for your indulgence. Now we will go back to our agenda item 4.0, budget consent agenda. Dr. Golson, please introduce items 4.1 through 4.8.
Thank you. Items 4.1 through 4.6 and item 4.8 requires board approval of the ratification of addendum fiscal years 2022 through 2025 compensation improvements and contractual amendments for employees represented by Service Employees International Union Local 400, Prince George's County, CTW, CLC, which is SEIU Local 400. Executive level and Board of Education personnel compensation changes in accordance with the approved negotiated agreement settled by the Association of Supervisory and Administrative School Personnel, ASASP, for Unit 3. Ratification of addendum fiscal years 2022 through 2025 compensation improvements and contractual amendments for employees represented by the Association of Supervisory and Administrative School Personnel, ASASP, Unit 2 and Unit 3. Approval of the new negotiated agreement for employees of ACE ASME Local 2250 and the Board of Education for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. The July 22 and August 2022 expenditure requirements, and FY 2023 reconciliation, adoption of the annual operating budget. Those are my
Finished?
7 items. Thank you.
Okay. Board Member Adam Stafford.
We have to have a motion.
Oh, may I have a motion?
I move that we accept items 4.1 through 4.8 as presented by Dr. Golson.
I actually presented items 4.1 through 4.6 and 4.8.
Sorry. Items 4.1 through 4.6 and 4.8.
Because we pulled 4.7, yeah.
Yes.
May I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second to approve the budget consent agenda items presented by Dr. Golson. Is there any discussion? Adam Stafford.
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to propose an amendment to keep open the community-based classroom. I had a chance to be a part of the graduating class of 2022 celebration. And as I looked out into the crowd, I saw a sea of proud students and families that had overcome significant adversity. One student in particular, the salutatorian Carolina Campos, held back tears as she explained how she came to this country from El Salvador as a child with hopes of reuniting with a family member in Maryland. She discussed the fears she made as she made the dangerous journey with just she and her sister. In spite of all of her obstacles, she's now going to be attending PGCC to study a career in medicine. And really, every student at CBC has a story like this. The program here is a model of what should be happening throughout our country, in our county, to support our most vulnerable students. I think the county council agrees that this school should remain open. They allocated an additional over $1 million in funding in order to maintain the school. And the CEO has stated that there is a deficit that was received in order to maintain the school. And so even with that new funding, I wanted to make the amendment to this budget to reduce one of the counselor positions at CBC in order to reconcile and keep the school open. And it's my understanding that there are 7 counselors at the school at this time. And I believe that if the students and staff had the opportunity to choose between having an additional counselor or keeping open the school, they would choose the school. So that's my amendment.
May I have a second?
Second.
No. Is there a second? Was there a second?
Yes.
There's a second to add an amendment as proposed by Board Member Adam Stafford. Is there any discussion? Dr. Golson?
Thank you. I do want to clarify something that was just stated, and it's stated in the board action summary paragraph that's entitled in bold, differences in the county council's final operating budget. The FY 2023 county council approved budget included $847,722,300 in county sources for the schools. This was just below the Board of Education requested amount of $848,089,098. creating a minor imbalance of $366,798. However, there was also an error in the approved county council budget which misclassified the state learning and extended academic programs grant as a county allocation. Upon correction, this error will add an additional $725,000 to the deficit from the county sources. The new unrestricted operating budget deficit is $1,091,798. There was no additional funds presented to us from county council to keep CBC open. We are actually receiving $1 million less. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member, Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you. I was just going to ask Dr. Golson not to go through the discussion that we had earlier this year regarding CBC, but I think our board member, Adam Stafford, stated it well, that this is a model example program. And as a result of the presentation and the study that you all did, this model program is now expanded throughout the county to allow more students to participate at multiple locations. And so just for clarification, we're not stopping the offerings that were provided from CBC. What we have done is expanded the opportunity throughout the county. Is that correct, Dr. Golson?
That is accurate.
And so even though we have a deficit of $1 million, we're still offering the services with the opportunity to allow more students to participate closer to home. And so this is an expansion of this wonderful model project that will allow more students to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Board Member Boozer Strother.
Thank you, Chair Miller. I guess I also just wanted to note the language used around closed and that this program is really restructured, and CBC, community-based classroom programs, still exist in a new form that will continue with face-to-face instruction and the Edgenuity model, MSD-approved courses, and the benefits that the students have received in the past. So I just wanted to take issue with the term close. This is a restructured program. Thank you.
Board Member Adams, were you through? Have you finished, Board Member Boozer Strother? Oh.
Yes, thank you.
Adam Stafford.
Yeah, thank you. Really, $1 million, we're talking about $1 million, and we have a $2.6 billion budget. I mean, this would be like less than a tenth, less than a penny when we're talking about the grand scheme of things, and we're talking about possibly a couple of positions that could be shifted or changed in order to maintain this community. You know, in the work that I do nationally, typically when you have a model that is successful within a district, the goal is to expand that model and to take the positives of that model and to make it something that can be replicated. And so what's happening here is that this community is being broken up. Over 100 students from my community came, and they also petitioned the county council as well and begged and cried for their school to be kept together. You know, this school is made up of mostly immigrant students, over 55% Latinx. And I just want to just put that out there for my colleagues to note. You know, when we talk about equity, equity is bringing resources to the people that need it the most when they need it. And so we're talking about students that are some of our most vulnerable student population that have succeeded. These aren't dropouts. These are students that decided to stay in school and to achieve something great. So, you know, generally, again, nationally, when you break up an alternative school, I don't know, any of my colleagues that work in this work across the country, please share. I mean, the result is generally not desirable. And so I just would urge us to be creative. This is about $1 million, and I feel like this is something that we could salvage.
Any additional comments? We have a motion on the floor to add an amendment to this budget consent agenda, as proposed by Board Member Adam Stafford. All in favor? Roll call. All in favor?
Mrs. Adam Stafford,
Aye.
Mrs. Boozer Strother,
No.
Mrs. LaSalle Frazier,
I will abstain.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mrs. Mickens Murray,
No.
Dr. Z. Miller, Mr. Murray, absent, Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. Valentine,
Aye.
Mrs. Williams,
No.
Dr. Miller.
No. Motion
4.
fails. I counted, what was your count?
I have 4 yeses, 4 noes, 1 abstention, and 2 absences.
2 absence?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion fails. Back to the original motion to approve the budget consent agenda as presented by Dr. Golson. 4.1 through 4.6 and 4.8. Would you call a roll, please?
Mrs. Adam Stafford,
Yes.
Ms. Boozer Strother,
Yes.
Mrs. LaSalle Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Mickens Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Murray, Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Aye.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Dr. Miller.
Yes. It is unanimous that the budget consent agenda has been approved. Thank you, colleagues, or it has passed. Motion passed. Now we'll move to item 4.5.
Excuse me.
I mean,
4.7.
Board Chair.
4.7 was removed.
Correct.
They have, Dr. Golden said she had to remove that because they have filed a protest. So that's why we did not vote on 4.7.
Yes, excuse me, Board Chair, before we move to 5.0 items, is it possible for us to now do the signing of the amendments for those three
sure.
labor contracts? Because that is extremely important tonight.
Where's the photographer?
Thank you.
Dr. Golson, would you call the union reps that are here to sign? Board members?
And then the board.
Okay, moving forward. Oh, thank you. We took the vote. Now we will move to 5.0, governance, second readers, unfinished business. Dr. Golson, would you introduce items 5. Excuse me? Okay.
Yep.
Dr. Golson, would you introduce 5.1? And after you introduce 5.1, Board Member Judy Mickens-Murray will introduce 5.2 through 5.6.
Actually, she'll do 3 through 6. I'll do 5 and 1.
Whatever, please
We
come
got
on and
it.
do what you're
Thank
supposed
you.
to do.
Items 5.1 and 5.2 requires approval of the FY23 amendments to the FY22 approved educational facilities master plan and a proposal for closing Margaret Brent Regional School facility.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second to approve, to approve items 5.1 and 5.2, the FY23 amendments to the FY22 approved educational facilities master plan, and the proposal for closing Margaret Brent Regional School facility. And Board Member, Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you,
For
Madam Chair.
discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to give an opportunity to our Capitals Programs Office to just highlight any of the major changes that are coming in the proposal. And for 5.2, I would just like to give Dr. Golson an opportunity to just give some, to publicly put on the record just some information around closing that facility.
Thank you. So 5.2 is the closing of Margaret Brent Regional School facility. We actually moved students from that building November 23, on November 22nd, 2021. So they actually have not been in the building. To repair that building would really require just a complete overhaul. They're not slated at this time to be listed for that. It will cost us lots of money to have the students return. It is safer for them to be placed in the facilities that they're located in. As stated in the board action summary, they're at Robert Gray, Dora Kennedy, and Fairmont Heights at this time. We have informed the parents in those communities, and the students will remain and matriculate to the next grade or to their new school site if they exited out of the elementary middle school program to the high school level.
Thank you for that. I think it's very important that we place that information on the record, because this is really the outcome of having an aging school facility, and the fact that there aren't any students actually being affected by this closure because of the implementation of this movement. I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware. And this also goes into, you know, the fact that we have plans and we implement plans and we follow them through. It falls in line with what is happening with our EFMP. And so if we can have Mr. Sean Matlock just highlight some of the major things that are in the EFMP that are in the amendments.
And for the sake of the audience, there were two listening sessions provided by Mr. Matlock and his team on this past well, I can't remember the dates, but there were two meetings for the public to have input. With that being said, Mr. Matlock, you can give the dates too.
Yes.
Use your playground voice.
Okay. I'll use my public voice. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there were a few amendments to the, we held these public hearings on June 15th and June 21st, and they were very well attended. The second one was very well attended. We had 19 speakers, and we've also gotten public testimony that was submitted and provided to the board. We have the opportunity to either write a new EFMP every year or make an amendment to it. 2 years ago, we rewrote it. Last year, we amended it, and this year, we're amending it again. The amendments have some changes to the intro and section 6, which reintroduced in cycle 1 and 4 tables. We just updated those informations about those tables. There's been no change in order of schools, and there's not been a change in the list of schools. We also amended Appendix 6, which is the school-by-school current and future enrollment projections. We amended Appendix D, which amended the community analysis with MNC PPC input. We amended Appendix U, which is the facilities needs summary. We amended Appendix W, which is the current utilization of facilities inventory data. We amended Appendix Z, which is the PGS-related policies and procedures. That's generally what we've done as far as that's concerned. There's some updates on the on enrollment. We did show a dip in enrollment, but we project that there will be a constant increase, and that this is related to COVID, and it's mostly related in that area. And other than that, there are no major changes to the EFMP.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
that, Mr. Matlock. And I'll conclude with, I love the fact that this is a living plan, and every year you have an opportunity to change or amend it. And in light of what we're coming out of COVID and learning to live and educate our students in COVID, these amendments were made. But also the fact that we're able to make these adjustments based on what we find throughout the year. This is our opportunity to change this plan that continues to help us change our facilities throughout the county. So thank you so much for that, and thank your staff for their work.
Thank you. Any other comments? Board Member Boozer Strother.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Just wanted to thank Mr. Matlock and your team and Dr. Goldson for the continued work on the EFMT and the cycles plan, keeping to the plan. I do appreciate that Cycle 2 will get some analysis because it has a lot of schools in it, and that would be very helpful to stakeholders to understand future timing of those schools. I did want to thank the many parents and staff members who testified. There's clearly a growing urgency around the county. North County, I think, has been most vocal for some time because of some of the oldest buildings overcrowded, but throughout the county, there's an urgency, and there's also beginnings of an understanding of the intersection of the movement towards clean energy school buildings, and also with that could come safer schools with the designs of the vestibules and the modern doors and locks, and the students, parents, and staff all feel that urgency that we will work hard for the funding for these schools that solve many, many problems and create safety for our students. And I just have one question for Mr. Matlock, if you could just expand upon swing space. I didn't see an update in here. Thank you.
So currently, we did not have a current swing space plan that was vetted out. That presented some problems to us during the implementation of the ACF, Blueprint Schools program. We now have hired a KDA, which is Kathy Dixon and Associates Architects, and they are, as part of our analysis for the next few tranches, we're also doing a comprehensive swing plan that will consider the utilization of current buildings, buildings that will be vacated, and based on our future construction plan, how we'll be able to move students around in order to accommodate that new construction plan. And so we will have a comprehensive swing plan probably by the end of the year.
Thank you so much for that update.
Thank you. Vice Chair Williams.
I just had one last comment, and it's really directed to the public. Now that we have finished with this EFMP presentation for FY22, this is the time to start thinking and providing input for the next EFMP. As we mentioned earlier, around when the administration presents information and data, we should be able to have thoughtful conversations and thoughtful input during that time. So we have 1 year from now until I think our first reader happened at our last meeting. So this is the time for us to think about things that are going on in your facilities that may require some change. So please reach out to Sean Matlock to provide your input for the next EFMP. Thank you.
Any more discussion? We have a motion to approve items 5.1, fiscal year 23 amendments to the fiscal 22 approved educational facilities master plan, and 5.2, proposal for closing Margaret Brent Regional School facility. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously, the motion carries unanimously. Next, we will go to 5.3, revised draft policy 0107, ethics regulations. 5.4, new policy 1120, Maryland Public Information Act. 5.5, new policy 5141, student registered sex offender, entry onto school property. And item 5.6, new policy 5119.3, pregnant and parenting students. Board Member Judy Mickens-Murray.
Madam
Chair.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve 5.3 through 5.6, second reader.
Are there, is there any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries to accept items 5.3 through 5.6. Thank you. Okay.
Follow-up items, there are no 6.
There are no items for non-consent. Are there any follow-up items? None. 8.0, motion to confirm actions taken in executive session. To receive a report from the CEO, to discuss, approve personnel appointments, to receive a report from internal audit, to receive an update on labor negotiations, to discuss personnel matters, to receive legal advice regarding pending litigation. May I have a motion to confirm these actions taken in the June 23rd executive session? It's been moved in second. All those in favor, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Dr. Golson, you did ask me to give you a moment.
Yes.
And here's your moment.
I'm sorry, thank you. I'll make it quick because I know you all are ready to adjourn. I did not want to miss the opportunity to thank our amazing CFO, Chief Herbetsman, and his amazing team for the budget process that was so flawlessly executed for this upcoming school year. It took a lot of time today to make sure that we reconciled to present to you a board action summary with accurate amounts. And they were the ones who identified the $725,000 that was misappropriated by the county council just as of earlier in the week. So I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Michael Herbetsman and his team who have done an amazing job, not just with our budget, but in the midst of now having to do amendments for our negotiated agreements and then a new contract. So please join me in thanking him. And for the budget team that's at home watching, thank you. We so appreciate you. Now, it's back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Golson. And the next item is 9.0, a motion to adjourn. But before we adjourn, I'd like to thank my colleagues and the administration for the collaborative work we were able, the collaboration in getting things done this year, working with the community, working with each other. And we've gone through a growth experience. And I trust that with that experience, this board will be unified in terms of what our service to the public and our governance and oversight of administration. And I emphasize that because that role should be clear. There is the administration, which is responsible for the day-to-day operations of our school system, and the board's duties and responsibilities include governance and oversight. Again, thank you to the public, thank you to Dr. Golson and that wonderful team that she has, and I thank you, colleagues. Have a wonderful summer. I'll see you at our next meeting this summer. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night.
Second.